It's midnight and I can't find the pokey. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. You're probably like,
why is she in the car?
For those of you who do not know, I have a 2-year-old and she's napping in the car seat. That's where she likes to nap now. So anyway, I figured I would just go ahead and film this now because it's just a story time and I'm just gonna be talking and telling you what happened to my pokey, to me. How my pokey just kind of disappeared into thin air. Okay, so I was gifted a piece of theory and it's like this big, super tiny sling. You know, I'm still new to old world species. When I first got it, it was in a little deli cup, and I'm super particular about how I house my tarantulas. I like everything to be uniform. I like the presentation to look good. Even though the pokey was super small, I wanted to give it a nice little mansion. And with my more defensive species, I do like to give them a little bit larger of an enclosure because that's less rehousing that I have to do. So I put the enclosure together like most of my arboreal enclosures. I got a plastic amok box from the Container Store, cork bark, and some substrate. I glued the cork bark to the top part. To make the ventilation, I was a little bit more careful than usual because it is a pokey. They are kind of escape artists, I hear, so I wanted to be extra secure. And I was actually talking to Exotics later that day, and he told me that he uses a hot needle to poke holes. So that's what I did. So I knew that the enclosure was secure and that it couldn't get out. What ended up happening was a few hours after I had rehoused it, I look in the enclosure to just see how it's doing, and I cannot find it. And I'm like, it couldn't have gone anywhere, right? Like, I used a needle to make the ventilation holes. It's not that small to where it could somehow get out. And I hadn't like opened the enclosure or anything since I had rehoused it. So it's like 11:30 p.m. and I've got my flashlight on my phone and I'm looking around the enclosure trying to find the pokey, and I cannot find it anywhere. But what I did find was this random little dead black ant or beetle thing. And I'm just like, did it eat it? So that's when I got a little more worried, and I took some pictures of it and sent it to my friend, Bobby, who you guys might remember. He was in a previous video. I showed his collection in the past. So I sent that to him, and he's just like, like, I think you're fine, but I would remove it. I don't think it's a good idea to have any, anything foreign in the enclosure. So that's what I did. Was a little nervous to do that because I could not find the pokey in the enclosure, and I usually like to keep my eye on the spider when I open enclosures so I know like where it is and where it's going. I thought, okay, I'll just dig around a little bit and see if I can find it. I get like a really big tub, I'm really careful about the whole thing. It is late at night, but I have lights, and so I start investigating and I can't find it. I cannot find the pokey. I cannot find the pokey, and it's midnight and I can't find the pokey. It's gone. It's gone. And this is where I started really panicking. I had gone through the enclosure and I just could not find it. I was sure that it escaped or got eaten by this mystery bug. So I'm panicking and I am messaging Bobby and I am just like,
oh my gosh, will you please come pick up this enclosure?
My hopes at the time were not very high. I was very sure that this thing was gone forever. I felt terrible because this was a gift.
Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to explain that I lost it? And oh my gosh, do I have a pokey running around our house?
It's like, what? This is not good. Bobby drives all the way here. It's like 1 a.m. I had been crying. This is my first real mishap since joining the hobby. I never had a situation like this happen before. He came and he picked it up and he was really calm about the whole thing. He seemed really confident that he would find the pokey in here. He kept telling me, check the cork bark, check the substrate, but I had gone through everything. He takes it home and I go to bed. So the next morning I wake up and I message him at like 5 or 6 a.m. and I'm just like, did you find it? And he sent me this.
About looking in the cork bark. Go on, what did I say about looking in the cork?
Always look in the cork bark.
Always look in the cork bark.
And if you think that they cannot squeeze in there, think again.
Always look in the cork bark.
So basically what had happened was the piece of cork bark that I used for the enclosure had a little tiny hole underneath it. And so that pokey, when it first got into the enclosure, I guess it probably dug around a little bit, found that opening, just went right on up into that hole and started making that its home. I was so relieved. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that was just a total like overreaction, panic reaction, and You know, I'm sharing this with you guys in case it ever happens to you, or in case something like this ever happens to you, or if you ever make a mistake or there's an incident. And you know, part of the point of being a YouTuber is making mistakes and showing them, which is not easy to do, and it does open you up to a lot of criticism. This kind of stuff happens to everybody. I feel like at some point in the hobby, everybody makes mistakes. But when you put that business out there, I feel like sometimes you get a little bit more harshly judged. I'm sharing this with you guys because as embarrassing it is that I cried and panicked, I learned a lesson. My advice, if something like this ever happens to you, is to remain calm. Panicking just makes you so much more susceptible to missing things like this. I'm sure if I was calm enough to get a flashlight and investigate the cork bark, I would have seen that there was a hole it was hiding in this whole time. But panic makes you miss things like that. So Bobby held on to my pokey for a little bit while I collected myself, and what we ended up doing so that I wouldn't have another freaking panic attack again like this for not saying it, we actually flipped the enclosure upside down. So now the hole with the cork bark is on the top, and I can just shine a flashlight in there and see it whenever I want. I learned a lesson, and I feel like I grew from that lesson a little bit. As embarrassing as it was, I feel like maybe somebody out there needs to hear it. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want, and I will see you guys in my next video. So, thank you for saving the day.
I'm more than happy to. Pokies, in general, like to hide. And we'll hide anywhere.